Welcome to Potential Unlocked, a stacked coaching podcast focusing on maximizing who you are in any way possible. In today's episode, we feature stacked coaching client, Army National Guard Sergeant Dylan McCaffrey. If you're interested in private nutrition coaching or personalized program, check out stackedcoaching.com. Also check us out on Instagram at Stacked Coaching and on Facebook at Stacked Coaching. Enjoy the show. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the new podcast name, Potential Unlocked. And I have the perfect person here for that, Mr. Dylan McCaffrey, or Sergeant, right?
Yeah.
Sergeant McCaffrey.
For those who know, just a regular old E5.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
It's a pay grade. It's in the Army, E5 is the first pay grade that's like NCO, non-commissioned officer.
You're a non-commissioned officer.
Yes. Well, not the first one, but it's the first. So there's corporal, which we got rid of for a long time, and that's E4, and that's like a lateral from the specialist. Specialist is not an NCO. Corporal is an NCO, but it pays the same. So who wants to be a corporal?
A corporal is you didn't go to college, right?
No.
But you have to go to college to be an officer, right? No.
So a commissioned officer, yes. A non-commissioned officer is like an enlisted. You're basically like in charge of troops, but your authority comes from that commissioned officer. So like that platoon leader, so like that lieutenant or that captain that's like at the company level or the battery level for an artillery battalion. Mm-hmm. And your job is to carry out their intent. You have a lot of levity as far as, carrying it out how you see fit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the completion of whatever it is, like the end goal of that officer or like for the, battalion commander, so on and so forth, is your job.
Are you also a gentleman?
Well, I'm a non-commissioned officer, so apparently not. No, so NCOs are not. We're still enlisted. Mm-hmm. So, but we are given a certain amount of authority that's sort of delegated from that officer.
All right.
Technically speaking.
Dylan, can you tell everybody what exactly you do?
So, I'm what's called AGR, Active Guard Reserve. Basically, what that means is I'm in the National Guard. I did I think 7 years. Yeah, 7 years of like, doing your 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer. And basically, Active Guard Reserve is like your job is to manage whatever sort of administrative role. So like I'm a medical readiness NCO. So, I'd set up like your annual like health assessments and your when our unit just got back from overseas. Not about
you didn't go, right?
No.
Have you ever been?
No.
Yeah.
So we haven't done much in like the last 10 years. Kind of everything's been kind of slow. So about a third of the unit went overseas. So like all of the health and readiness stuff that they had to go through for the year leading up to that, like all of that paperwork was funneled through me up to like the state, and they went to Fort Bliss and then through NGB, National Guard Bureau, and stuff. So the Active Guard Reserve component is like somebody needs to be there to make sure that paperwork gets handled, that basically the ship stays floating while everybody's gone. So for every, I think, 50 National Guard soldiers, there's one Active Guard Reserve position. So that's you. That's me.
Yeah, so you were quite busy during COVID.
Yes. So medical readiness NCO is also a medic. So when we first started opening up those test sites, guess who got thrown into that mix?
You, brother.
Yeah. So I was living at the convention center for a couple of weeks, probably getting like 3 hours of sleep a night, and also having to do my regular job because that doesn't stop. While also working that test site. I think we were at Armstrong Park for a little while.
Yeah.
So, and that was just during the beginning. Now it's like the COVID stuff is like its own entity. So we're not like, at the unit levels, we're not like in charge of like the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
Generally, we're back to handling like our own business.
All right? So I've always been super curious. Like, what do you do in terms of day-to-day business for the National Guard?
So, I'll give you an example. I went into work on Tuesday morning, and we had a couple of a line of duty incidents. Is like if somebody gets hurt while they're at drill, and they're 2 week or
right,
whatever, or like we also have our substance abuse program. So like I manage our substance abuse program. We do packets, so like there's checklists, and we upload those things into whatever system it needs to go into. And for like the LODs, those guys, if we send them to a civilian hospital, they need to get their bills paid for.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's what I worked on all last week and this week. Substance abuse, LODs.
Is substance abuse a big problem in the National Guard?
Depends on where you are.
Here?
We're in New Orleans.
So yeah.
So I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. What is the protocol to get to help someone with substance abuse issues in the National Guard? I mean, yeah, I'm curious.
Interesting you asked that. So we actually have substance abuse counselors. And we typically don't really kick somebody out on the first time, typically, unless there's like other things that go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
But we try and get them help, and we try and like send them to counseling. And it used to not be free, and now it is. So like they have like a social worker, or like a basically a social like case manager, caseworker, whatever, that works over there. There's a lot of like, and they're civilians. Mm-hmm. They're not, and they're employed by the Louisiana National Guard, and that's like there's like a lot of different resources that people can use, or we can refer people out if it's bad enough.
Yeah.
So especially if they come in and say they have a problem, that's the best. That is the best route. Yeah. So, and in that case, that's when we really try and get somebody help. Mm-hmm. I mean, you try to anyway with the other stuff, but it's like if somebody comes in with a problem, we really do like try and work with them.
Nice. Well, let's get to it because I'm really proud of this guy here sitting next to me. He has come. How long have you been with me?
Oh God,
9 months ish.
Something like since May of last year.
Yeah, so almost a year. And you're like a completely different person since when we started.
Yeah.
And what I mean that is. When Dylan first started with me, first of all, he does nutrition coaching with us, and he does personalized programming as well. He does the full deal. He pays my mortgage every month.
Pretty much. God. Oh man.
But anyway, when he first started, you had like a frantic energy about you, right? Like, and now there's a lot more level of chill.
Yes. Yeah. So that is like one of the biggest. It was sort of like I just to kind of give you a little backstory. Before I became active guard and moved back to New Orleans for this job, mm-hmm. I had actually gotten in pretty good shape, but I would say like it was the best. I had dropped a bunch of weight by eating like 1,500 to 1,800 calories a day.
Yeah.
So it was kind
Which
of
is fine. Like, you can
Right.
do that. You just can't sustain that.
No. So, and I went back and there's some things like that I did right, and there's some things that I did wrong for, I mean, like the extreme caloric deficit, for one thing. I had a big rebound after I moved back to New Orleans, and I started eating like a normal person again. And I went from, let's see, I started at like 240, and thank God I never got back up there. But I went down to like 173, 172, and then went all the way back up after I moved back to New Orleans to like 205.
Wow.
So there's some things I did right, which I ate a lot.
And now you're hovering right around 176.
Mid 170s, something like that, but like a lot stronger than I was.
Yeah.
Like a lot stronger. So I did eat a lot of protein. So that's one thing. I was eating about 190, 200 grams of protein a day. I wasn't eating as many vegetables. I was eating like 10 grams of fat a day, which is just not enough. Not enough. My hormones are all out of whack.
Yeah, there is a minimum amount of fat you should eat per day. Now, the majority of people that we see on a daily basis that struggle with their weight tend to eat what I call a high fat, moderate carb diet.
Yeah.
Where most people should, if they're eating high fat, it should be low carb, high fat, but most people think they're eating low carb. They're not. It's a moderate carb, which is still really high.
I got a friend of mine who kind of wants to do something like this with, like, he wants to open a gym. He's kind of postponed it a little bit, but it's like, it's very much in the cards right now. They're actually the one that makes these.
Does he live here?
Clothes. He lives in Baton Rouge.
Okay. Yeah, tell him to talk to me. We'll get hooked up. So
absolutely.
So energy has to go somewhere. You were eating a big caloric deficit.
Yeah.
What happened from there?
So I went from eating a big caloric deficit to eating, let's see, when I moved back here. Now, all right, let me rephrase. I did okay at first. I did have I have a friend of mine in my unit he's a bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. He writes diets for people. He has a pretty decent understanding. Yeah. Intuitively, and like he has a really good coach as well. He wrote me a couple of diets, and then he wrote me before I left for my combat medic school, which I think like my weight gain really started to kick off during that school, because really it was like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. barely any time to work out, and we were all stressed out because it was like you did the whole national EMT registry, and it's like 3 months.
Does the military educate you on nutrition at all?
They have nutritionists and dietitians, but it's like they don't have them as readily available as I wish they did. Now, in some places, like if you're on like a big active duty post or something like that, they do have them working there. A lot of times they work in the hospital or something like that. But with us, with the National Guard, not really.
A few years ago, there was a big buzz about the levels of fitness going down with the military because they couldn't find enough fit people due to America being as out of shape and obese as we are. How does that look in the National Guard?
So,
I mean, if you looked at the demographics, you say, okay, we're pretty fit. We got a good handle. We're not overweight.
So, okay, think about this.
Choose your words carefully. I don't want you to get kicked out of the National Guard.
I'm not going to get kicked out of the National Guard. So think about this. We have we're like, I'm full time, but most
are part time.
Yes, 2 weeks out of in the summer and in a week in a month. So like is forcing them to do physical training for those 2 days out of the month, is that going to really do anything?
No, that's zero.
So these guys they're given a standard. They take a physical fitness test once a year, which by the way is changing. I'll get to that in a minute. But you're relying on them taking the initiative to take care of their own health and fitness. Now, there's certain things that you can do. I mean, like you can stay on top of it, especially if you're like in a leadership position. You know, the text your guys. You can use certain like incentives. You know, there's incentives, punishments, all the things that the military gives you as far as your tools to, you know, instill discipline in soldiers. But at the end of the day, when they're on their time,
right,
they can still choose to do it or to not do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we changed our physical fitness test, and it's more strength based. It's it looks like it was made by a CrossFitter, which it was, by the way. Now I don't know who exactly did it, but I've seen the group of testers that they've been using, and the gym that they had, it's a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
So it's max deadlifts, which 340 is the max, 180 is the minimum. It's easy to pass.
Yeah, it sounds super easy to pass.
Hard to fail. I mean, it's hard to max. And then there's like a 10-pound medicine ball, and you like basically throw it behind you over your head
for distance. For
distance, and I forget what the max.
I like
is.
that.
It's good. I like
good.
that for like explosive. Like it's more athletic.
Yeah.
And then you've got a sprint drag carry, which the name is not. It doesn't really describe the whole thing. So you start from like a push-up position, but like on the ground. Sprint 25 meters and back. You drag a 90-pound sled 25 meters and back. Carry 2 45-pound kettlebells or ammo cans.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you do like a side shuffle 25 meters and back, and then again sprint there and back. I think maxing is like a minute 37, which is it's pretty tough to get there, but you only need like 3 minutes to pass.
Oh yeah, it's easy. And
then the 2 mile. Well, and then there's the leg tucks, which is from a pull up position. Well, from like a
dead hang.
You it's like a slight bend in the arms, and then you bring your knees up to your elbows. 1 to pass, 20 to max. 1 to pass. 1 to pass. Now,
all right.
There are a lot of women, a lot of females who have had trouble with this because their core strength and their upper body strength. It's like this is what's been killing. What's probably had like the biggest impact on like the rollout of this physical fitness test is that there's a lot of females who have trouble with this. With the leg tuck.
Do you think it's biased?
It was supposed to be non-biased. So it was actually supposed to be the initial rollout, like last year or 2 years ago. It's been in the works for a while now. Was like there are no standards that are based on gender or age, which the last PT test was, both gender and age. And then there's like they had issues where, of course, the males are going to outscore females on a lot of the events because they're strength based.
Yeah.
Duh. So they changed that. Now I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the standards were right now for male and female, but I think they were talking about rolling out 2 separate standards. Now those are not age based now. I don't think.
Yeah.
Because for a while I think we were trying to keep people out. It was be deployable, which means just be healthy or get out. And the Army was kind of coming out with all kinds of different ways, new and creative ways to
They had too many people.
Yeah, I mean,
really. Now
especially.
I guess time's a piece.
Well,
too many people on the payroll.
If you think about it, I mean, well, I could tell you like there's a few units in the Louisiana National Guard that are over strength, but there's a few that are under strength. So it kind of doesn't. I don't think we're like necessarily over strength, but there have been like some budget cuts and stuff like that at the national level that are rolling out here. I'm sure there's going to be more. Now they want to pay us more, and we generally get a pay raise every year. Like There's, I forget what the name of the bill is, but the DoD generally gets like a 1 to 3% pay raise every January.
Yeah. All right. I'm curious because you've done so well in both the personalized programming and the nutrition. Which one do you think has had a greater impact on you?
Nutrition.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Why?
It's more of a mindset thing. So before I did all the the personalized programming, so I think that there are a lot of good coaches that you can go to. I mean, obviously you're a really good coach, but like there's a lot of good coaches.
There's a lot of good coaches out there. Yeah.
Program you.
Fitness wise.
Yes. Nutrition wise, there's more to it than just here are your macros for the week.
Yeah.
So like having a coach that kind of helps you change your mindset, how you use food, your mindset towards it, how you view yourself. Because I had like some image issues and some self-confidence issues before, and those were like lifelong things that maybe
When do you think that started?
When
body image issues.
Body image. Oh God, I've been a fat kid my whole life.
Yeah.
So, and I remember you talking about that. So when oh God, what was her name? Who did I do the initial?
Stephanie.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like, "Do you want Coach Bradley?" And I was like, I remembered you saying that, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want somebody who's just been fit their whole life. I want somebody who knows.
Yeah.
So, and that's a thing, is like somebody who's kind of been there and done that. You don't want the guy who's been fit their whole life as your coach.
Yeah, I see like multiple things where someone who's been fit their whole life doesn't understand, or we'll just say doesn't suffer from maybe body dysmorphia or body image issues like we did. Like they just looked good their entire life and it was easy for them. They don't understand what it like goes through our heads.
No, not at all. And I have friends who are like kind of the guy who can eat a whole pizza and not gain a pound.
Good for that guy.
Yeah, I mean, good for you. But they complain about not being able to put on muscle, which I have no problem with.
Right.
They kind of
look. I've seen the other side of people that, and this is. All right, so I've seen the opposite side of the coin as well, and I actually think the opposite side is harder. Where someone who's like been skinny their whole life and they want to gain muscle, like that is freaking hard. Like, and I've had multiple clients that are, I'm talking like weigh 135, 140, and want to get bigger. The amount of work that it takes to do that is colossal. And I don't think people understand that. Like, I know there's a lot of people like you and I, not you and I, because you and I have, I believe we have been through so many different things in terms of our weight, our body image, that we don't, we're not jealous of someone else, but also like don't, what is the word I want to use? But like we don't project onto someone else our difficulties onto someone else as well. So when we see someone struggling, like you're like, okay, I get it, but for someone that is like, and I'm talking about a man that weighs like 145, okay,
right,
and wants to become 155, 160, they have to eat like it's their job, and it is incredibly hard, like incredibly difficult. And I don't think people realize that. Like it's
no, and the thing is, like, if I eat, let's see, where are we at? I'm at 260 grams of carbs a day right now. I'm eating.
Yeah, we're still going up.
Yeah, so I'm eating like 2,400 calories a day. It's not that much.
It's not that much.
If you consider like, lately I haven't been as active as in the gym, like during the open stuff like that. It is what it is. But before that, if you consider how much I was working out and eating 2,400 calories a day, it's not that much.
It's not that much.
I was probably, if now fitness trackers can be a little bit off, but I use Garmin typically, and if I do morning cardio and then come in and do like a hardcore like strength and then metabolic conditioning workout, I could burn anywhere from like 2,500 to 3,400 calories a day.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So, like, I am not a big believer in the caloric burn that the Garmin shows or any of those devices, Whoop, the MyZone, any of those, the heart straps. The accuracy of that is just, it's not there. But what it does do is if you use it every day, it gives you an indicator of your relative burn.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is like this day compared to the day before or this day compared to last week. It may not be accurate, but it's telling you if you expended more energy or not compared to another day.
So I like it for that, for the consistency, and I also like it for things like sleep tracking.
Yeah, I agree.
For like steps, and just like your general activity tracking. You can kind of see like your daily habits and
right.
You know, because I work 4 days a week at a desk, you know, Tuesday to Friday. Sometimes more than that because, you know, I still have to go to drill and then annual training and stuff like that. But those, like, you could tell, like, those 4 days, but you could tell when I'm busy because I'm not moving.
Yeah.
You know?
So about 2 minutes ago, you kind of like, you didn't roll your eyes, but you kind of glanced up when we were talking about like you not being as active in the gym lately. But I want people to understand this. Like, I like to always say that we're on a dial, whether it's nutrition or fitness, we're on a dial, right? And if life's a radio, and our habits, or I'll rather say adherence, is the dial, we dial up or dial down depending on what is going on in our life.
Okay.
You know, and to be at max or like a volume, you know, 9 or 10. Let's just say it's on a scale of 10. And I think they go up to like 40, right? But nonetheless, let's say it's 9 or a 10, okay? And we keep the volume there, all right? If you keep your radio at max all the time, what happens to the speakers?
You can blow your speakers.
You blow your speakers out, okay? And the same will happen to us, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's mentally, physically, or emotionally, you'll blow your speakers out because you cannot. You know, we've talked about in previous podcasts about capacity and load versus capacity. And a lot of the load that leads up to our capacity line has nothing to do with the gym, has a lot to do with our life, stressors in life, what's going on, things like that. And so if you were trying to go full out all the time, it's really hard to manage, you know?
I would love to. You know, I would love to not have a job and like just to work out for a living.
You recently got in a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I recently started dating somebody, and you know, guess what happens when you start dating somebody? You start going out.
Yeah.
More,
which is fine.
Yeah. It's an adjustment, and we've pulled it back a little bit because we both track macros, and we're kind of like we're looking at our habits, and we're like, hey, you know, we need to get more sleep.
It's a honeymoon phase.
It is. It is.
Know?
I think post Mardi Gras, we kind of agreed like right before like that Endymion Bacchus weekend that we were gonna take Mardi Gras and enjoy it, and then after Mardi Gras we're gonna tighten back up.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I live my life at an 8, if I spent like in terms of my nutrition, okay, I spent the 2 weeks leading up to Mardi Gras at like a 3, which was okay because for 2 straight years I lived at an 8. You know what I mean? Like it's perfectly fine as long as you have the ability or the accountability from someone, a coach or friends or a group of people or a community to where they'll help you get back on track.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not as lean as I was, say like, you know, October, November timeframe, but I'm also like I can feel like I'm physically stronger.
You are, like, and we had goals in mind that had nothing to do with body composition during these last 2 months, right?
My goals at the moment are like a lot more performance oriented than they are body composition wise. I believe form follows function, and like if you can, it's so hard to get like, can you be lean and have extreme, like, you know, some kind of cardiovascular endurance and then also be able to squat in the high 400s at the same time? Absolutely not.
No, you can't do all those things at once.
No. So well, think about that statement when you look at your when you watch your next CrossFit Games. By the way,
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at like bodybuilders, what they're doing 10, 12 weeks out from a show and how they look is vastly different than what they're doing 3 to 4 weeks out from a show and how they look, right?
Yes.
They're doing a lot less, okay? And they look a lot better, as opposed to 12 weeks out, they're doing a lot more and like jacked and working out heavy weights, but they don't look as lean.
Those 3 to 4 weeks leading up. So I know a few bodybuilders. When I lived in Baton Rouge, I kind of mixed in with some of them. Like I became friends with the former owner of Planet Nutrition in Baton Rouge, and he knew a bunch of bodybuilders up there. So I kind of got to see, like, as that time frame to their show got smaller, they started like not coming in as much. They were maybe a little bit cranky. If they weren't working out, like their workout was like basically maintenance. And if they weren't working out, they were doing nothing. They were not expending any extra calories. Granted, they were burning fat, but that's because
they're in a huge caloric deficit.
Exactly. So, but they don't want to be. They're in a certain, like, they're staying within like 50 calories.
Yeah, they're miserable 2 weeks out, right? Like, because you don't have the calories to have energy.
Right. They don't want to burn any more or less. So like their entire life for those 4 weeks is tailored like specifically for that, especially like some of the pros that I've met.
Yeah.
But they can do that.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
No, we can't do that. But it's also like how you can't, let's say you're going through a tough time at work or at home. You cannot give that the energy it needs and also give your nutrition and fitness the energy it needs. Like, you only have so much. Like, I always like to say you have a pie chart of energy. And the bigger slice of that pie varies with where you are in your life. And to understand that goes back to what you were talking about before. It's a mindset shift. If you know where you are in time and where you are in your nutrition journey, okay, in comparison to what's going on in your life, you can handle it better. You can also make progress without making scale progress, like under nutrition coaching. So for example, like we have people, I like to tell people that we only require 6 months to start, okay? I like to tell people to wrap your brain around a year plus, okay? Like, I just had a client, she's been with me for ever. We were just like, let's try it on your own now, because she's been with me for almost 2 full years, and I'm excited for her to try this on. And I was like, look, if you get, something happens, you can always come back. But over that course of time, things happen that don't normally happen in 6 months, and you need to know how to operate your nutrition or your fitness under that level of stress. And sometimes, a lot of times, progress under stress is maintenance.
Yeah.
And it's understanding that.
It's more mental progress than anything else. So here's a good example. Who remembers Hurricane Ida?
Yeah. Yeah, that was huge.
So when you're in the National Guard and there's a hurricane, you don't get to evacuate or go home. You get called up and you go. All right. So yeah, if you're in the National Guard, you don't get to evacuate. You go, you get called up and you go wherever the hell they tell you to go. So, and since I'm active guard, we go in first.
Mm-hmm.
So when Ida was coming, I was packing my bags, and I work at Jackson Barracks, which is in Araby, and I was sleeping in my office for like 2 days. And right before it hit, like the day before it hit, they're like, everybody's going to the convention center. So we rode out the storm in the convention center. Had no power for a few days. My emergency. What
was your food situation like?
It was. I was at the mercy of whatever they were feeding us.
Right.
We had catered meals. The food was. Don't get me wrong. Like, the food was delicious. Like, it was quality food, but it wasn't healthy food.
You didn't have control of it.
Right.
You all you could do was work with what you had.
Exactly. And what is going to happen most times is that your fat consumption is going to
through the roof.
Yeah, it more than doubled. So I mean, I love eggs, but they're full of fat, and they had eggs and bacon and toast every morning, and I had
Just for those of you keeping track at home, Dylan's fat target is 55. 50?
Yeah.
Okay. 50.
Used to be 55.
Well, sorry.
At the time, it was 55.
Right. All right. So it's 55 at the time. Okay. If you have 2 eggs, that's 12 grams of fat. If you have 2 pieces of bacon, that's another 12 grams of fat. Ish. That's 24 grams of fat-ish, right? Maybe more than that. Okay. So like we're at 24 grams of fat. If you have normally toast or like a piece of bread has at least 1 gram of fat in it. Okay.
And that toast was pre-buttered.
So pre-buttered. So we're looking at probably 4 or 5 more grams of fat. Yep. So Dylan's up to 30 grams of fat, more than half his target for breakfast.
And mind you, I'm going crazy because I'm like, this is when we were all getting ready for the beach brawl.
Right.
And I'm like, I've still got it in my mind that I'm going to the beach brawl.
We all did.
Yeah. Some of us pulled out earlier than others. I was still down. But I also had a job to do. So like I was, working 12, 16-hour days, basically helping to manage like medical support at like our food distribution sites. And we're not talking medical support for like, the regular civilians. We're talking medical support for like the soldiers. It's hot and they're going to be working their butts off and throwing cases of food and water in people's cars. So, guess what happens when you're not able to maybe drink as much water as you want? You might go down.
Yeah.
So, I was in charge of making sure there were like medics at every pod site. And,
so how'd you handle your nutrition during that?
Basically just kind of took pictures of, like so when we started with the 8 app.
Yep. We took pictures and then we moved to macros. And so you went back to pictures for Ida.
Back to pictures. And it was...
Did you have a plan though? Like what was your plan? Do you remember?
Plan was to basically do like reasonable portions. Try and stay away from like the fattier if I could. It was just,
which is hard.
It's hard to do, especially when there's only one protein source available.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing, I had a little reset day where I got to go and I got to smell my fridge. That was great. But I have a mini fridge and that was totally fine. So that went with me to the convention center for a little bit. And I stopped at one of the stores that was still open. And like when you get that first opportunity, like I got, low fat carb and protein sources, protein bars, just all kinds of stuff to basically help me along. And I was able to not like stay totally in line, but I was able to keep my calories under, I think we were trying to stay under like 2,300 calories or something like that. But I was also able to keep my protein consumption up, and I was able to keep my fitness up somewhat. I have a jump rope and a kettlebell. I brought that out there.
Hey, look, when you got back, within a week, our weight was back to normal, right? And it was fine. And it's like one of those things where like, when we're in those types of situations, you can control what you can control, which sometimes is not a lot, but the things you can control it, and then live to fight another day.
Yeah.
Because it's temporary. Your life will come back. And as long as you know that,
I think you'll be okay. Yeah. And I think I was there for almost a month.
Yeah.
I was there until like September.
Yeah.
Until end of September, last week. And when I came back, I think I gained like a pound.
Yeah.
The whole time I was there.
Right.
Like I probably did gain more than that, but like once I started to get
your relationship has caused you to gain more weight than any of that other stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my god. Okay, so I didn't really drink before. I mean, I do partake in alcohol, but it's like
it's like once a week,
if that.
Yeah,
every 2 weeks, and I really did pick my spots. Now don't get me wrong, I do like to become Frank the Tank. But
when Dylan drinks, he goes hard.
Yeah, but I pick my spots. What we've really been doing since I've gotten in this relationship is she's been I haven't really like been around New Orleans that much. I've lived in Lafayette and Baton Rouge, so of course as soon as I move back, COVID hits. well, the last 2 months have been kind of exploring all the new restaurants that have opened up.
That's good.
So, and I've had a great time doing it. I don't regret it.
Yeah, good.
One bit.
That's what we talk about with Stack all the time, is living life with no regrets.
Right.
You know, and then just moving on and making the next day better than you could. So, in terms of the programming for you, like, what has been the biggest difference with personalized program versus group fitness? Like, how has that changed for you?
It's changed. Okay, so a lot of with like the Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
So we did Olympic lifting for like 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Like October to like mid-December. So I taught myself how to snatch and clean and jerk.
Right.
I mean, like,
you do a good job too.
I'm a YouTube junkie. So, and all the little,
there's a lot of good stuff out on YouTube.
Yeah, there absolutely is. But my consistency has gotten a lot better. Now, like, I lost strength when I dropped weight. And through that, like, I probably lost like 30 pounds off of my snatch. I was snatching like 200 when I was, 200 pounds.
Which we knew that was going to happen. And like, I tell everybody, like, hey, when you're cutting and losing weight, you're going to lose strength. Yes. We'll gain it back, which we're doing right now.
And I did. Like, I think at some point, like early December, late November, I snatched 200 again. And it looked even better than the first time I snatched 200. At like 30 pounds lower than I was. Yeah. So the strength has returned. My squat's coming back. Like, all of my major lifts are coming back up, but my endurance is better. And like my metabolic conditioning is better. So like all of those things that I was working on before when I was 200 pounds and I was squatting in the 400s and stuff. Yeah. So that all went down, and now that's coming back up. Without my weight coming back up. Yeah. Or at least not coming back up significantly.
Right. We're maintaining it. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. That's pretty good. So, I kind of want to know, in terms of like your childhood to now, like, if you could go back and give yourself advice when you were a kid in terms of what you know now in terms of nutrition, what would you tell yourself?
Let's see. Don't use as much butter. So, just to give you some background, my grandmother was known as the Butter Queen.
The Butter Queen.
Butter Queen. I loved like pasta and broccoli, stuff like that. I ate probably 400 or 500 grams of carbs a day when I was like in my early teens.
We all did.
Oh yeah, but that was also like 100 grams, 200 grams of fat. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think I would rather give myself the nutrition advice when I was in high school. So when I was 16, 17, I had a late start. I started wrestling. I went to high school at Jesuit, and I started wrestling my junior year of high school. I know it's kind of late, but I just wanted to do it. I didn't know anything about nutrition, and so weigh-ins were tough. Like, I was cutting water weight and stuff. Yeah. Like, my first year, I went
spitting in a cup.
Oh my God. So if I could have gone back in time to give myself, like, to teach myself about nutrition and what to eat, not that food is bad, any food is bad, but what to eat, what not to eat, as far as like, carbs, fat, and protein. I didn't even know what a macro was back then. I would have had a much easier time. I wouldn't have had to dehydrate myself, and probably would have been a lot stronger. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, some of the movements.
Yeah. So the biggest thing, like, I find it weird because I see a lot of overweight high school kids these days, even athletes. Like, I was just at my son's 9 and 10-year-old soccer, or 8 and 9-year-old soccer game, competitive league, and they have this awesome kid, and the kid's very overweight, and I'm like, man, his life will be much easier, and he will be a much better athlete if he was like 20 pounds less, right? The problem for that kid is he can't do anything about it. His parents feed him, right? And the best I can do with my kids is I teach them, like, the science behind nutrition. Like, what does protein do? What does carbohydrates do? What does fat do? I never talk to them about being fat or being overweight, I'm like, oh, the fat fuels this. This is how much you should have of it in a day, relatively speaking, right? Carbohydrates do this. This is why you need carbohydrates. And then when we sit down and we eat, I'm like, tell me what the protein is on your plate. Tell me what the carbohydrates on a plate. What does that do for you? And that's how we talk about food, right?
Wish I had that when I was a kid.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it gives you an idea, and there's, not every kid can do something about it, but at least it's on their mind from a scientific aspect and what their plate should look like. I think you have to be very careful with a high school kid teaching them macronutrients because it could create some disordered eating or some issues that we really don't want to broach, okay? But if we talk about adequate portions and how it should look, that's a lot better approach. But most high school kids, they are become sedentary, okay, a lot more. They're less playing, less going outdoors, a lot of video games. And on top of that, it's high carbohydrate, high fat diet. High carbohydrate, high fat. If you're looking at your kid and one thing you want to make sure how to help them without, criticizing them or whatever, is just make sure their protein intake is up. Most kids drastically undereat their protein. And that's one of the biggest things I say. Yeah. You did too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm eating frozen pizzas and donuts all the time. I mean, seriously, yeah. It was nuts. So
an Italian family, it's like pasta.
Yeah.
All the time.
So in terms of right now, Dylan, where you are today, how do you feel about your fitness level, your nutrition, overall as a person?
So I feel like my fitness level is not where I want it to be, but it doesn't really matter because I know how to get it to where I want it to be.
I like that.
It doesn't bother me. Like it used to bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore because I'm just like, oh, all I have to do is change these things.
You're also, I feel, more secure as a person now.
Yeah. That's the thing is like when I was like eating 1,500 calories a day and I was 173 pounds, miserable, I was like so afraid of gaining weight. I mean, granted, I did afterward.
Right.
I feel like that's because of that.
Yeah.
I did gain weight. Whereas like I'm up a few pounds and I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just tighten it up a little bit over the next couple of days and I'll go back down. It's fine. If I could have taught you one thing, like that is the thing, right? Yeah. Is that it's okay and you have the tools to go in and out, up and down, however you want to. I want to ask this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your happiness level right now? A scale of 1 to 10, I would say in general it's like right now around a 9.
Yeah. Versus a year ago.
Versus a year ago it was like a 3.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just a lot more secure in myself, in my knowledge. Like I could probably, if I didn't do any more nutrition coaching and I adjusted my macronutrients like based off of like what I thought, I would probably keep most of my stuff the same and just kind of adjust carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we've been doing.
I want you to hit 300. We're going to do a cut for the summertime and then you're going to be off on your own.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is like, so if I could recommend the STACK program for any reason, it's not because it's like you give you a coach. I mean, it's very successful, but the biggest reason is it's a program that's made for you to not be on it forever. Yeah, it's gonna give you the tool. It gives you tools to manage your own nutrition and your own fitness for the rest of your life, rather than having you be with a coach for the rest of your life and having to pay. Even you could pay $50 a month for the rest of your life, or you could pay
$500 for a year.
$500 for a year, and
that's per month. And never need it again.
Yeah, never need it again.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Dylan, what is your favorite carbohydrate to eat?
Favorite carbohydrate to eat is always rice. Any kind of rice, jasmine rice actually specifically.
Do you do anything special to your rice?
What I like to do with my rice is sometimes like I like to take a little bit of lime. and some cilantro. So it's like I like to do some Mexican dishes and stuff like that, like low fat Mexican dishes. And so cilantro.
I got a rice hack for you. If you put like 5 to 6 grams of coconut oil in your rice when you cook it, so like if you distribute it and like there's probably like 5 or 6 servings, you could just add 1 miscellaneous fat gram to your setting depending on how much of the pot you actually just ate, and you could guesstimate that. But if you add 5 or 6 grams of coconut oil when you cook your rice, the texture is unreal.
Really?
Like it is unreal.
I do like some coconut rice.
That's my biggest recommendation. All right, favorite fitness movement or exercise? Snatch.
Always. 100%. Yeah. I don't know why. It's so dynamic, and fine tuning it is like one of my favorite things to do.
What do you hate?
What do I hate? The jerk.
I hate squatting.
Really?
Yeah, because it takes so much of your CNS to do.
It does.
Like I could go deadlift any day, and maybe I can't deadlift the most, but like it doesn't take much effort to deadlift from a mental aspect. To squat, like, oh my God.
So I feel like it's true. It does take a lot of your CNS, but when you deadlifting takes a lot too. And I have a new perspective on deadlifts after 22.2.
Oh yeah, well that destroyed everybody.
Oh my God.
So
I was
yeah, like if you're programming workouts at home, you don't want to program deadlifts and burpees together, especially in high volume. It will destroy every single person's back. So.
As it did this past weekend.
Yeah. All right. Any parting words, Dylan?
Parting words. Definitely learn about nutrition. It will change your life. If you can get with Stacked, get with Stacked. If you can find
someone else,
it doesn't
find
matter.
yourself a coach.
Find a coach. Find somebody who's going to help change your mindset, change the way that you use food, and that way, like you can actually enjoy food. You can enjoy life again without having to worry, about what you eat, without having to be restrictive, and you can. It's such a game changer. Like my life is so much better.
I love it.
I understand it.
And go create some habits.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Thanks. Have a good day.